Royal Insider, where hidden royal stories come to light before they hit the headlines. If you've been following the royals, you already know, not everything is as perfect as it looks on the surface. Behind the polished images and official statements, there are always deeper stories, silent tensions, and moments the public never gets to see. And today's story is one of those moments, the kind that makes you stop and pay attention before the truth even fully comes out. Everything about Harry and Meghan has always been under pressure, but what's happening now feels different. Heavier, more personal, almost like something inside the walls of their private life is finally starting to crack in a way that can't be controlled anymore. And this time, it's not just rumors about public appearances or royal tension, it's something much closer to home. Something that allegedly involves family pressure, parenting stress, and a growing emotional distance that no one expected to see at this stage. What started as quiet speculation has now turned into a storm of whispers that behind closed doors, things may not be as stable as they look from the outside. And the most shocking part of all, insiders are pointing toward one unexpected factor that could be making everything worse: the pressure surrounding their children and how it's affecting both Harry and Meghan in completely different ways. Because when a marriage starts feeling the weight of private decisions under public pressure, even the strongest image can begin to shake. And now the question spreading everywhere is simple. Has something inside their relationship already started to break without anyone realizing it? To understand why this moment feels so intense, you have to look at the pressure Harry and Meghan have been under since the very beginning. From the outside, they always appeared like a united front, stepping away from royal duties, building a new life, and carefully controlling how the world sees their family. Every interview, every public appearance, every statement was designed to show strength, independence, and control. But behind that image, insiders say the reality of building a private life in a very public world has never been simple. Living away from the traditional royal structure meant freedom, but it also meant responsibility without a safety net. Every decision about their children, their safety, their schooling, and their exposure to media attention became something they had to handle alone, without the system Harry once grew up in. And that shift is where the pressure allegedly began to build. Harry, according to royal commentators, has always carried the emotional weight of his past, growing up under constant public scrutiny, learning early what it means to have your private life turned into headlines. That experience is said to make him extremely protective, sometimes even cautious to the point of emotional withdrawal when things feel overwhelming. Meghan, on the other hand, is often described in these discussions as someone who approaches life with structure, intention, and control over narrative. For her, protecting the family doesn't just mean avoiding attention. It means managing how the story is told, shaped, and perceived. Individually, both approaches make sense. But when combined under stress, they can create tension that builds quietly instead of exploding loudly. And that's what insiders are hinting at now, not a sudden fight, but a slow emotional shift. Moments where agreement used to be easy, now requiring more effort. Conversations that used to flow naturally, now feeling more measured. Decisions that once felt shared, now feeling slightly divided. And in the middle of all this, the added responsibility of raising children in an environment where every detail can become public discussion is said to be increasing that pressure even more. Because when privacy becomes the most valuable thing you have, even small cracks start to feel much bigger than they really are. And according to the growing whispers, this is exactly where things begin to change. This is where the story starts to shift from pressure into tension. According to the ongoing whispers from inside royal commentary circles, the dynamic between Harry and Meghan is no longer just about external stress. It's about how they are responding to that stress in completely different ways. And that difference, insiders suggest, is slowly becoming harder to ignore. Harry is said to be leaning more into protection mode. Every decision reportedly circles back to one question: how does this affect the children? And how do we keep them away from the chaos he once lived through? That mindset, while understandable, is also described as increasingly cautious, sometimes even creating hesitation where decisions need to be quick and unified. Meghan's approach, as described in these discussions, is more forward-facing, more structured, more focused on control over environment and narrative. For her, stability comes from managing outcomes, not retreating from them. And that's where friction allegedly begins. Because when two people start solving the same problem in two completely different emotional directions, even small disagreements can start to feel heavier than they should. Insiders hint that conversations that once ended in quick agreement now sometimes stretch longer than expected. Not loud arguments, not public conflict, but something quieter, pauses, distance, and a growing sense that both sides are not always arriving at the same conclusion at the same time. And then comes the part that pushed the current wave of speculation into overdrive, the mention of kids making it worse. Not in the sense of blame, but in the sense of pressure concentration. Every decision about family life now carries double weight. Every disagreement isn't just about the present moment. It's about long-term impact, public perception, and emotional safety for the children. And that kind of pressure doesn't always explode. Sometimes it builds silently, until even normal conversations start feeling like decisions with consequences attached. And according to the narrative spreading online, this is exactly the phase they may be entering now, where at this stage of a story, the tension is no longer just something subtle in the background. It has reportedly started to influence how decisions are being made day to day. According to ongoing speculation in entertainment and royal commentary spaces, the pressure inside Harry and Meghan's private life is now being described as noticeable shifts in alignment, meaning the way they approach problems is no longer as synchronized as it once appeared. And that is where things begin to feel more serious. Some insiders suggest that even routine family decisions are now requiring more time, more discussion, and more emotional energy than before. Not because of conflict in the traditional sense, but because both sides are reportedly weighing consequences more heavily than ever. Harry's position, as it is being described, continues to revolve around protection and distance from unnecessary exposure. There is a growing emphasis on shielding the children from anything that could resemble the kind of media environment he experienced growing up. That emotional memory is said to influence almost every instinct he has now. Meghan's perspective, however, is being framed differently in commentary, focused on structure, control, and ensuring that their public and private lives remain carefully managed rather than reactive. For her, stability is something that must be built actively, not avoided passively. And when those two philosophies collide under stress, even small disagreements can feel amplified. This is where the kids making it worse narrative takes a sharper turn in the rumor cycle. Not because the children are directly involved in conflict, but because they represent the center of every decision. Every disagreement now carries emotional weight tied to responsibility, future planning, and long-term protection. And that level of responsibility changes how conversations unfold. What might have once been a simple discussion now becomes layered. What used to end in quick understanding now reportedly requires time, reflection, and sometimes emotional distance before resolution. And insiders claim that this shift is what has caught attention recently. Not visible conflict, but emotional recalibration happening quietly behind the scenes. There is no public breakdown, no confirmed disagreement, no official statement suggesting instability. But what is being described is something more subtle, a transition phase where two people under pressure are no longer reacting in exactly the same way at the same speed. And in stories like this, those are often the moments people look back on and realize something was changing long before it ever became visible. As soon as these whispers started circulating online, the reaction was immediate and intense. Without any official confirmation, social media began treating the speculation like a developing storyline. Every past interview, every public appearance, every small gesture between Harry and Meghan was suddenly being re-examined frame by frame. Clips resurfaced. Photos were slowed down. Body language experts were suddenly everywhere in the conversation, pointing out distance, tension, and microsigns of emotional separation, even in moments that were previously seen as completely normal. But the truth is, none of it comes from confirmed facts. It's all interpretation layered on top of interpretation. Still, that didn't slow the narrative down. Royal commentary pages and celebrity news platforms began amplifying the same theme: pressure, parenting stress, and emotional strain behind closed doors. The phrase "kids making it worse" became a trending talking point, even though no one could point to a verified source explaining it in detail. And that's where the media storm really took shape. Because once a narrative reaches this level, it stops being about evidence and starts becoming about perception. Some viewers insist that where there is this much speculation, there must be some truth behind it. Others push back strongly, saying this is exactly how misinformation grows, by turning silence into a story. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan themselves have remained completely silent on these specific claims. No clarification, no denial, no public engagement with the rumor cycle at all. And in the world of celebrity culture, silence is never neutral. To some, it looks like privacy protection. To others, it looks like confirmation of tension. And that split interpretation is exactly what keeps the story alive and spreading. Even commentators who usually avoid speculation have started framing it carefully, not as fact, but as growing pressure narratives and shifting family dynamics. Still, nothing is proven. Nothing is officially confirmed, but the conversation has already moved far beyond its original point. Now, it's not just about what is happening, it's about what people believe might be happening behind the scenes. And that belief, right or wrong, is what keeps the storm growing. At this point, the story takes a more uncertain turn, not because anything has been confirmed, but because the silence around the situation has started to feel even more noticeable than the speculation itself. According to ongoing commentary threads, the most important detail isn't what is being said, but what is not being said. There are no public clarifications from Harry or Meghan addressing the specific rumors about tension or family pressure. No interviews, no statements, no direct pushback against the "kids making it worse" narrative that continues to circulate online. And that absence of response has allowed the speculation to evolve on its own. Some observers now suggest that what people are interpreting as breakdown could simply be a period of recalibration, a phase where a couple steps back from public noise to refocus on private priorities. Others argue the opposite, saying that extended silence often signals deeper internal stress, especially when a narrative grows this fast without correction. But the most unexpected twist in this entire discussion is how quickly the focus has shifted away from public appearances and toward private life decisions, as if the entire conversation is now centered on what is happening behind closed doors rather than what is visible outside. And that's where the uncertainty deepens, because no one outside the situation actually knows what their day-to-day reality looks like. Every claim is filtered through commentary, interpretation, and repetition. Every detail is being shaped by external voices rather than confirmed facts. Still, the narrative continues to build momentum. And the question now being asked everywhere is no longer just whether there is tension. It's whether this is a temporary phase of pressure, or the beginning of a much larger shift that no one has publicly acknowledged yet. But just as the speculation reaches its peak, one thing remains completely unchanged. Harry and Meghan are still silent. And in stories like this, silence is often the loudest signal of all. And that's where the story stands right now. No confirmation, no official statement, no clear answers from Harry and Meghan about the rumors surrounding their relationship, their private life, or the growing speculation tied to family pressure and parenting dynamics. Everything being discussed is still coming from commentary, interpretation, and online reaction, not verified fact. But what cannot be ignored is how quickly this narrative has grown, and how strongly people are reacting to even the smallest hints, pauses, and silences. Because in today's world, stories like this don't wait for confirmation anymore. They evolve in real time, shaped by public conversation, media attention, and constant speculation. And that's why this situation continues to trend, not because of what is known, but because of what is still unknown. Is this really a sign of deeper tension behind closed doors, or just another wave of overanalysis built on silence and assumptions? That's the question now dividing opinions everywhere. Some believe there is real pressure happening privately that the public doesn't see. Others believe it's all being amplified far beyond reality, turning normal family dynamics into dramatic headlines. But until anything is officially addressed, everything remains uncertain. And maybe that uncertainty is exactly why this story refuses to fade. Because the moment there is silence, the world starts filling in the gaps. Now, I want to know what you think. Is this just media speculation being blown out of proportion? Or is there something real happening behind the scenes that hasn't been revealed yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments.